Happy Pride, everybody. For Pride, I wanted to celebrate the queer luminaries, the disruptors that facilitate the shoulders that I stand on. As a Black and brown person, when I'm thinking about the people that are in my lane or who have created such a frenzy or a stir in American culture and just in world culture, oftentimes brown people are at the center of that, always. What oftentimes we find people at the front lines of social change being people of color, and more specifically, queer people of color. The self-proclaimed feminist, lesbian, mother, warrior Audre Lorde was a native New Yorker and daughter of immigrants. Both her activism and her published work speak to an importance of struggle for liberation among oppressed people and of organizing in coalition across differences of race, gender, sexual orientation, and of ability. I mean, she has this beautiful quote that I'll never forget, and I might have it tattooed on me, that says, "Those of us who stand outside the circle of this society's definition of acceptable women, those of us who have been forged in the crucibles of difference, those of us who are poor, who are lesbian, who are Black, who are older, know that survival is not an academic skill. It is learning how to take our differences and make them strengths." You know, Audre Lorde, the Queen, has given me so much hope in this time of uncertainty. She's just given me the means to govern our own truths and govern our own moments of incredible, incredible, incredible possibility. One of my inspirators is Bayard White, who is my cousin from Birmingham, Alabama, my Scorpio water sign girl, who is a registered nurse and also like a billiards champion. She was like a pool champion for a lot of time. And it was often during my childhood that Bayard's unapologetic truth was the first time I ever saw queer life in front of me. You know, how assured she was and badass and so happy. I think that so oftentimes in queer children's lives or babies of the LGBTQIA plus community, we often don't find our mentors or our co-conspirators to come to us until like later on in our lives. But to have her while I was still trying to figure out who I am, I think that it's so powerful for individuals to see anyone that is unapologetically living their truth, choosing their truth over their safety, and then also telling everybody else to get in line behind that. It's iconic, just iconic. Another one of my inspirators or disruptors is my fellow Pisces, Bayard Rustin. He was an openly gay American leader in the social movements for civil rights, socialism, pacifism, and gay rights. A lot of people don't know this, but he was the chief organizer of the 1963 March on Washington. Rustin was known for his incredible advice and counsel to Martin Luther King Jr. But although that was an incredible partnership, Rustin had to oftentimes, due to his sexuality, be the trumpeter on the sidelines. He was a Black man who happened to be queer. And for me, that's so important when we're talking about civil rights activism and entertainment and forwarding the pendulum around how are we advocating for everyone around us, not just some of us or some people that are tangibly in our comfort zones. And I think that him being a disruptor, him being openly queer inside of a space and a time where he got so much ridicule and still never chose to back down, but only to add on to his plate. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Oh, Jimmy Baldwin, AKA James Baldwin, one of the 20th century's greatest voice. James Baldwin broke literary ground with his radical and intelligent approach to discussing worldviews on Black culture. He's somebody that I look at even now, just knowing posthumously his work is coming to the forefront, you know, being seen not only just by queer people, but also everyone. It would be even in his own work where he was discussing and talking about a society in which, you know, we're not governed by our racial disparities or our otherness, but that in truth, our otherness or our uniqueness is our superpower. And that's what makes us beautiful and that what combines us. Dun, da, da, da. One of my inspirators is JeanMichel Basquiat. He was a poet and visual artist. I mean, his ability to, champion the marriage between text and image called out xenophobia, homophobia, sexism, classism, and philosophy through striking silhouettes of Black bodies, heads, crowns, animals, aka the heroes and the saints of the world. But there were, as we look at and we study his work, there's this half type of understanding, half mysticism. Your boy that, cool with Andy Warhol and cool with Fab Freddy, and still also give you all these people that represent multitudes of generations of ethnicity and race and culture and religions, and still also never lose my voice. Now, when we're talking about LGBTQIA plus matters, a lot of things were built off of the backs of Black and brown transgender people, queer people, asexual people, gay folk, genderqueer folk. We have the time and the space to be our own heroes. We need to be our own heroes. And I hope that if nothing else that you got from this list, these pantheons of culture and of uniqueness and universality and individuality, understand that they all were living truthfully in their bodies and in their spirits. Be true, be you, and everything else will fall into place.